to the heart of worship when it's all about you. Yes, it's all about you, Jesus.
Good recovery.
I'm sorry, Lord, for the things I've made.
Okay, last time I checked, this was not choir practice.
Yeah, but they love to hear me sing, and they haven't heard me sing in a while.
Who told you that?
Okay, first of all, you against you're not even supposed to speak until we introduce you.
Please comment if y'all told him that. Somebody, just let me know.
This is why you can't have your friends on stuff that you do, because they don't know how to act. You already acting outside the boundaries.
That's you the one acting, bro.
It seems like Zach to me.
What do you? No, but that's what I'm saying. He's not supposed to speak until he's introduced. That's how it works. And you already.
You're trying to silence him. You brought him on this podcast, and now you want to silence him.
This who y'all. This your guy. This your guy.
All right. Okay, we back, everybody. This is our first time back. We haven't done the podcast in a very long time. It's been a couple months. Matter of fact, I think we stopped a little before the summer, but we certainly haven't been on the podcast since the summer. And so a lot of things have transpired. We had, at the beginning of the summer, just to backtrack, we had a cookout. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know I could make burgers?
I didn't.
Were you on the grill?
Did you know you can make burgers?
Actually, I wasn't even on the grill.
No, you weren't. I'm pretty sure we should get... Yeah.
That's what I be talking about, yo.
I wasn't on the grill, but I do know how to make burgers, though. So I wasn't on the grill, but we had a good time. We had like a bunch of people come out. It was fun.
Play some kickball, right?
Play some kickball. It was a good time. And then what else? Oh, we ended up doing a BLOC Olympics towards the end of the summer. That was a lot of fun. We played a whole bunch of different random games. It was a whole lot of fun. And we had a big beach trip. The beach trip was awesome. You don't know this, but we do a beach retreat every.
I think summer. I heard about that. at some point.
We baptized 3 people at the beach retreat. That was awesome.
In the beach?
In the ocean.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, because you can't baptize people in sand. You had to baptize them in water. But because the biblical word is immersion, so you use
don't feed into this.
No, I'm just gonna say that I thought the beach was the water and the sand, because if it's just sand, then it's at a beach still. But you got it though. Keep cooking. You on it, bro.
I feel like you bullying me on the podcast already.
This is you. This is all you, bro.
Anyway, it's been a great summer. We're bringing the podcast back, and so it's good to be here. This is my friend Zach, everybody. Zach Johnson. Welcome, Zach Johnson, everybody.
What's happening?
So, interestingly enough, we both know Zach because Kennedy and I met in college. Kennedy is our new co-host, by the way. Shout out to Kennedy.
Thank you.
All right. We all met together in college, right? Matter of fact, when I met Zach, I was upset with Zach the first time because he already smiled because he already know.
What?
Because I met Zach at the BCM. And when I got to the BCM, it was predominantly white. Mm-hmm. So it was like, there's only like 2 or 3 black people in there. And I saw Zach, I was like, okay, like, we can be friends. We in here together. Well, we met each other at the BCM, like nothing crazy, just like introduce ourselves, whatever. Then I saw him off campus at the cafe. And I was like, what up, bro? And he was like, what up? Like, he didn't know me. And I'm like, bro, we supposed to be friends. Mind you, like, this is probably the first week we ever met each other. So not really, but at the same time, for real. You want to explain yourself?
Bro, look, what I think happened was either I didn't know who you was, like it didn't register like who you was, or if I did know, it ain't have enough space for too many black people. So it's just like, you feel what I'm saying? It's like, it's up. It was just up at that point. But
that's so funny. But we made it. We became friends. Zach used to come to the house all the time. And he used to always come with a $5 hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. Like, every time. It's like, bro, we just cooked and you bought a $5 pizza from Little Caesars.
Can't come empty-handed. It's a Southern rule.
Talk to him, yo. Talk to this man, yo. Please tell him. Hey.
No, I just didn't understand why every time, like, we friends, you don't have to bring something every time you here like 3-4 times a week. That's a lot of money.
Man.
That is a lot of money. Are you okay? Have you recovered?
It's this whole works-based thing that I'm trying to like dial back. You feel what I'm saying? So,
right.
For sure.
But anyway, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for being a good friend. You've been a good friend every season. Somebody's car is going off in the background, so we apologize about that.
You know where we at. I'm just playing.
We are in Metairie. Okay, Metairie. But anyway, we started a brand new series called Trust Issues. Now, usually what we do, Zach, for your understanding and for their clarity, we usually record the sermons and post the sermons on the podcast, and then this is more like a conversation about what they heard on the sermon. But this Sunday, the audio was messing up on the sermon, so we can't post it because there's no audio. Okay, so they gonna get whatever you tell them. All right, whatever we talk about today.
So don't mess up.
So don't mess up. But at the same time, no pressure.
Locked in.
Locked in. All right. So we started this series called Trust Issues. I shared the story, and I want you to share your story. I shared a story about a young woman in our ministry who gave her life to the Lord 2 weeks after she got married. She gave her life to Jesus, but her husband did not give his life to Jesus. And so she spent the next 6 years of her life with the earnest prayer of God saving her husband. And 6 years later, after she was praying, after she gave her life to the Lord, he ended up divorcing her because he didn't want to follow Jesus, and he felt like Jesus was the reason for their pulling apart in the marriage. She, meanwhile, during that time, as she was telling the story, she did everything she could. She prayed, she read, she fasted, she got in the community, she served. She did her part. And she felt like God didn't even do his part in like answering her most earnest prayer. She even went to seminary, got plugged into seminary, learned some things, like was really going for it, like all chips in on Jesus. And then her husband divorced her because he didn't want anything to do with her or Jesus. And so that developed in her a trust issue with the Lord. And she is one of the people that inspired this series. And so, that's just obviously a difficult thing to work through, to navigate through, to carry. And so I wanted to start off by sharing her story, just kind of give you the idea of like where we at in trust issues, but even give you the opportunity to share your own story of maybe the times in your life where you ran into a trust issue with the Lord, because it's my understanding that at some point in our life, we all go run into a trust issue with the Lord because of disappointment or whatever the case may be. But how about you tell us your story?
Yeah, so I think it could be like connected to, for me, definitely like when I was younger, like I always struggled with like, I wanted to be a part. Like I kind of grew up like an only child. And so I always felt alone, always felt like my parents were always at work. So I was kind of home by myself a lot. And so it's like, I always wanted to be a part of people's families, right? So even with you and your family, right? So like, even in college, but when I was young, it was like my friends, it's like I would attach myself to like their families. It's just like a reoccurring theme in my life. And so, the older I got, right? So in a sense, like my parents didn't neglect me, but it was like, it was times where I felt alone, I felt neglected. And so, a couple times throughout my life, like I felt neglected by God because there was some adults who took advantage of me when I was young, right? And one of those people was actually like a person who was walking me through the Bible, right?
Oh, wow.
And so like that, like I never processed it. I didn't realize that I was groomed and like that kind of thing. And I never processed it, right? Never processed it up until like a year ago when I really was like, I was actually trying to help somebody else who was having issues with the church. And through a couple conversations, I realized that like I was struggling, right? I realized, I remember at that time, me and Daniel had some conversations, right? And so I remember it was a time where I realized that like I was trying to be for other people, but I felt like God wasn't for me.
Oh, wow.
Right. And so so it's like I felt like God didn't come through for me when I was taken advantage of. So it's like I gotta make sure that don't happen to the people that's in my circle. And so like over the past year it was just like, God, like where were you? You know what I mean? Like where were you? I needed you. Like if I could stop this kind of stuff from happening, then like I would, like I wouldn't allow this to happen to my child if I'm your child kind of thing, know? So yeah, I think that was like the one that like created the most trust issues, because one, it came from inside the church, but it was also just somebody I trusted, and like I was just like confused, right?
Sure.
It would have been bad without it, but like that created a real tension because it came from inside the body, right? So
now you said this happened, this journey, this trust issues thing that you've been working through happened about a year ago.
Yeah.
How have you, or maybe what are some things that you've done to help you navigate through it, like in your walk and relationship with the Lord?
Yeah. So So I do feel like disclaimer that like I'm still processing, still new stuff that comes up that creates like moments of tension.
Triggering things, yeah.
Yeah, but I think some of the things that most helpful was knowing that I could be honest in prayer. Like I could tell God that like, yo, I don't like the way this happened. I don't like the way like you're doing this. I don't get it, right? I don't get I'm just to lay it all out, right? Like I've had some very choice words in prayer. Like just it's
like
probably
what?
the best way, huh?
Like what?
I can curse on here. Oh, all right. Well, I mean, if I can.
You don't have to curse, but say what you say. Say it.
Yeah. So I think this was a kind of a time where I was so like I felt neglected in this time, and it's like, all right, God, like if you gonna like neglect me sometime and not other times, like I don't want nothing to do with you. So it was almost like, God, if you're not effing with me, I ain't effing with you either, right? And so like that was like one of the times where I remember saying that to God. And after, it was interesting because I remember after saying that, I felt like God was there, right? As angry as I was, I felt like he was there after I said that. That's because I thought that was, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you because that if I'm listening to this, that seems backwards. It seems like if you said something like that to God, he would walk away from you, not lean into you. And you're saying that he drew nearer to you when you brought him those words.
Because I think what's, I think that's what happened. But I don't know if I knew this at the time, but like it's God knows how we talk when we're desperate, right? So just me in hindsight, right? He knows how we talk when we're desperate. And there's places in the Bible where it's like darkness is my only friend, right? So David's saying this in like Psalm 88, or like in other places where it's like God, turn your face away from me so I can smile again. Wow. Right? And so it's like this stuff is in scripture.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like it's something that's like far-fetched to be like to do what you feel like is gonna take to get God away from you. So that's actually why
you wouldn't be the first person.
Exactly, right? So for anybody who's like, and I think our culture too, like church culture can be very like, yo, you can't say that, or like don't think like this, like you're not perfect, like you should be looking to be holy and perfect, and rightfully so, right? Sure. Like that's like scripture does teach that. It's also like, how does God meet us where we are, and like if that's actually where you are, because that was actually where I was. Like it wasn't like I was actually at the point where it's like, I don't know if you want me, so it's like, yo, I'm tired of, my hands are up. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like, yo, make a choice. If you gonna be with me, like be with me. Yo, like I'm struggling. You know what I mean? So yeah.
You mentioned when you were telling this story that it's something that still is happening. So like there's some things will come up, a trigger will happen, and you have to work through it again. Can you tell us like what that walking through that looks like? Like what's your first step? Is it the honest prayer, or like how do you get to the point where you recognize, okay, I need to bring this to God, and then what are your steps after that?
I think sometimes like and I forgot to bring this up, but like I also have community.
Yeah.
Right. I also have people that I know I can reach out to. It was actually shout out to Seth Ernest at Forest Church, man. He even before I started going through this, he was always checking on me, like making sure he's like, yo, not like, cause I'm a seminary student, like not school, not ministry, not none of that stuff. Like how are you? Like he was always kind of like urging me to be honest. And so like having that space, right? So sometimes it's like I don't go to prayer first. Sometimes I end up going to, it's like, yo, bro, like what's, like this was happening. Like I'm not, and it's like he'll pray with me, right? Other people in like my community group or whatever would pray for me, like that kind of thing, and then it would push me to pray. Sometimes I still do pray, and it comes out pretty bad too. Like like it's still like really rugged when I pray, because I normally only pray when I'm aggravated, right? It's something that's really getting to me, and so it's like I'm tripping, and so but I end up coming to them, and like they kind of like speak into that and like pray for me and stuff like that.
I love how you said God knows how we pray when we're desperate. That's rich.
So good.
Yeah. Especially because go ahead.
That's this Derek Kidner dude, so I ain't come up with that. And I heard it from Tim Keller.
No, but it's good though. Shout out Tim Keller. He's legit. Both of them actually are legit. But I love that statement, because one of the things we talked about in the life group was just rehashing out the sermon and stuff like that. We talked about the story that Jesus gives in the Gospels I can't remember which gospel it was, but anyway, I think it's Matthew when he talks about like he don't like the babblers, like the people who babble and stand in the synagogues. Like he wants to talk to the person who goes into the inner room and behind like nobody's looking, like and just pours it out before the Lord. And it's interesting to hear you say like he knows what that sounds like. And one of the things that was mentioned in life group is the Lord. Like he doesn't need our words because the passage talks about he already know what you're gonna say before you even say it. David highlights this in Psalms 139. Like he knows my thoughts from afar. He knows my getting up, my lying down. But what the Lord desperately wants in our time of prayer is our heart, not like the heart that's been put together first, but the raw, the honest, the genuine heart. And it seemed like you bring that to the table.
Yeah, we talked about in my life group last night as well. That we have to stop sugarcoating things because if, like you did not do in your prayer, right? And so like if we are sugarcoating things, more often than not, we're also sugarcoating them for ourselves. So we don't even know what the truth is that we're trying to pray because like we're trying to make it sound good.
That's good.
And then we're never going to get to the heart of the matter. Like the heart of the matter for you was that like, where are you? Or like what you said in your sermon, God, do you care? Like what is going on here? But if we can't like be vulnerable enough to say that without being like, hey God, like I know you do, but like also I'm not really feeling that. Like we want to make it sound really pretty, but that isn't the sound of our desperation, and we know he answers our desperation. Like you just said, he answered your desperation, maybe not with like clarity, but with his presence, right? And so I think it's really important for us to get to the place that you do. Now, maybe not vulgar, but like he said, you know, whatever. But
no, I hear you though. I hear you. Like I don't prefer that to be my method, but it's like sometimes that's all I got.
Right.
You know, and so
and I think that's important because I think there is a fine line between like being disrespectful and just like being genuine. You know, like again, he knows what it sounds like when you're desperate, and he's also not intimidated. Like he's not scared by you being upset with him. Right. You know, he can handle it. He's the father. You know, he's gonna be the father with or without it. So that's good. So you mentioned a few things. Just like quick recap. You mentioned like prayer, like honest, genuine prayer. You also talked about community. I want to go back to that. What would you say to the person who is struggling with a deep trust issue with the Lord and they lack community in their life? How would you encourage that person, or what would you encourage that person with?
Man, I definitely would encourage you to find people where you know you can be, people who don't flinch. That's the way I remember it was. Good. It was because I think like when I started going through like a spiritual crisis, it was people who I would talk to, and I could tell that like they didn't know how to sit with me while I was in darkness. It was almost like, hey, you should do this or you should do that, and it's like I'm really in darkness, and all I really got the energy to do is fight. Like I'm not thinking clearly, right? So it's to have people where you know you can have intimacy as far as like conversation, be honest, right? Because that's all I was looking for. I was looking to be honest with God and honest with everybody around me. Because exactly like what you said, is like so much had been built on performance. Yeah. Right. And it was just like that. It just like at this point I was like, I'm not performing for this church, not this community group, like nobody. Like, and if you can't take it, I don't want to be around you. Like it's like go. Like if you good without it, you good without it. But like what I need is like intimacy. I need to be able to be honest, and like but for people who don't flinch, right? Where it's like, and I think this is actually like really helpful. It's like I realized that like the person who was there for me, they had already sat in their own darkness, so they knew how to sit with me in mind, right? And so that was really helpful.
I have a question for you. Okay. How did you identify those people? Like, were you only able to identify those people when they didn't flinch, or were there like things about them that you recognized before you got into this like vulnerable moment where you're sharing? Like how? So what I really want to know is that like how can I be a person who doesn't flinch? So what are you looking for?
Do I have to curse?
Huh?
That's not funny. That is not funny.
That was one of the things though.
Okay.
Like so it was.
See, I do.
That was actually one of the things. So so you asked two questions. I want to answer both because they were both really good. So one was like, how did I identify that, right? So the first person was actually like Seth, right? And so it was like I was like, I know I can be honest here. And he would constantly invite me to like their community group, right? And he was like, and that was his words actually. He was like, they don't flinch. So that's actually why I said it, is because it's like and I didn't know what he meant. I was like, okay. And then I went a couple times, and then it was just like, we ended up having a conversation about like, so disclaimer, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't smoke weed. I'm just saying that like at the time, we ended up talking about smoking weed, and I was like, yo, is it biblical or is it just like a cultural like narrative, right? And so from me saying that, we ended up talking about other various drugs, and they was like, you serious? And I was like, yeah. And so we ended up having that conversation, and the way they handled that conversation with care gave me the freedom to like share more of what was actually like was struggling, what I was struggling with, right? And so it's like I kind of like tiptoed my way into.
I think there's a lot of wisdom.
And they handled that really well. They handled those like what would be easy questions to be like, no, like you shouldn't smoke weed, like you shouldn't. But I was really in a place where it's like, yo, I'm trying to figure out all this stuff again.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? And so for somebody who's trying to figure it out, it's like to handle their questions with care, in real time, right? So yeah, that was really helpful. And I definitely encourage like everybody to sit with us their own stuff, because it teaches you like patience in suffering, right? Because it's like there was nothing I could do. Well, it was some stuff I could do, I think, but it's like that was probably wasn't the best idea, you know. And so, but to be able to, it's like you kind of just have to sit with it.
Long suffering is a word we don't use enough,
and
right? That the Bible uses often.
Bro, that jump was because it was just nasty. It was so heavy on me, yo. It was days I couldn't go to work because I'm just like my whole worldview was like shaking, right? And so it was just like, why go to work? Because like what I want to do at work, I want it to be meaningful, and not my work. And like now marriage, right? Because even my marriage was connected to like God, like in ministry and stuff like that, right? We met doing ministry, so it's like everything was just like, nah. So
no, that's good. I in my conversation with you and so many other people that I had with about trust issues with the Lord, like everybody seems to be, I don't want to use the word deconstructing, but reconstructing their faith. Like there is a lot of, as I said on Sunday, there's a lot of fluff in our Western Christianity that like not is all bad, but fluff is unnecessary. Is how I define it. There's a lot of unnecessary things about our Christian walk in the West that's just not necessary and like not necessarily biblical, you know? And so it seems as though like the valley or the working through the trust issues, working through the disappointment that you have with the Lord and things of that nature, have a way of stripping you of all the unnecessary fluff in your walk, and like get to it causes a deep hunger and a desire for what is real, and a less hunger for what's fake and like unnecessary. Cause like you said, man, I want to go to a small group and I want to know if we're gonna actually talk about some stuff. Not like you gonna tell me you had a good day because you don't want to get to the bottom of what you're going through. Like let's get to the real stuff, right? And so like, what would you say to the person who is going through that? Cause like I know somebody who is reconstructing their faith, but like it's just not really going that well for them at the moment, because there's a lot of things that they're learning and unlearning and relearning, and they're just in a debacle at the moment. How would you encourage that person as they're sifting through the fluff and the real thing?
Yeah, so let me just say that like that junk's hard. So like hear me saying that first. It's like it's really hard. Like if you've grown up with faith and like it's kind of like been shaken for one reason or another, you've been exposed to something, whatever, like it's hard. So like hear me saying that first, and like you're not the only person to go through it. You're not the only one to be faced with like really hard things. And one of the things that I remember doing first was like, all right, because it shook me so much. I was like, all right, who has come out on the other side?
Yeah.
Right. So I immediately started looking, because I think I was like, before I started going through it, really the only people I saw who was deconstructing were people who ended up walking away from the faith.
Yeah. Right.
And that was like the only narrative that was like everywhere that was, you know, so that was something I was already aware of. So I was like, all right, that's biased. Right. So I was like, all right, how do I leverage like, what does it look like for somebody to go through something really, really hard, and they walk through the darkness, and they continue to walk through the darkness, because that's consistent too,
right?
Because like they continue to walk with that, they continue to carry that, and it just looks different in different seasons, right? And so I started looking for people who have spoken into that.
Outside the scriptures, inside the scripture, both.
So I think first I was like it was hard to stomach a lot of scripture because I didn't know that like God would like meet me, because I had done a whole lot of like the theology stuff and the reading scripture and the like carrying it. So it was like all right, like I needed something that was more like, it's like, yo, I need somebody in 2025
more tangible, yeah,
right, where it's like all right, they've walked through it, what helped them, right? And so just kind of like trying to like gather knowledge from them. And so one thing I remember was Lisa Fields, shout out Jude 3. She had like a series called When Faith Disappoints, right? And just she's interviewing people, almost like what y'all doing.
Yeah.
And but interviewing people, and they're talking about their stories about like what would it look like for them. So that was helpful. And like they're not on the other side. Don't think that like there's an end to it. I think heaven. Right?
That's
I
good.
think heaven, but I think we can get glimpses of God as we walk. And like I pray you're able to see so many of those. Right? Like for anybody who's like struggling, I pray you get to see many of those like on this side. And it was 2 books. One by Tim Keller, Walking with God Through Pain and Suffering. So I definitely encourage you, if you're a reader, audiobooks. I'm an audiobook person. Walking with God Through Pain and Suffering, and Suffering and the Heart of God by Diane Laneberg or something like that.
They'll find it.
But yeah, like those were like really helpful, because Diane Laneberg is like a counselor, right? Like a Christian counselor or something like that. So it's like these people kind of speak in a way that like we're not used to hearing people talk about suffering and God, right? So both of them did. Well, all 3 of them did, right? All 3 of them like kind of spoke into that. So yeah. What was your question?
I don't remember.
I think I went left, bro. All right, we good.
What would you encourage somebody who's reconstructing their faith and trying to persevere through that?
Yeah, and find some people you can be honest with. Like don't just hear the loud voices, whether it's college, because I know professors can be very like hostile. Work can be hostile towards like your faith and like whatever. Like also just be mindful that like sin confuses the playing field, right? So in all of this, right? Because I had that season too, where it was just like I was like, man, I'm through with this guy stuff. I like whatever sin I felt like doing, like I don't care. Like that's where I'm at. That's what I'm on. And so it confuses and it makes it more difficult to hear clearly, right? And it's destructive. Like that's what I knew in the moment when I was doing it, was like everything that I'm looking to do is destroying good that I have, right? So it was really. So I want to encourage you that too. It's like be mindful of that as you like navigate, and yeah, just having people. Like Sundays was really hard for me because it felt so put together, and I was so not put together, yo.
Yeah.
I was so used to doing Sundays, so like all I really had the stomach for was like small groups. And so I'm telling y'all that like if Sundays are too hard, I get it. Find you a small group. Find somewhere where you can be honest.
You probably spoke to this already, but I want to ask it plainly, because you and I had a conversation prior to the podcast, and one of the things you mentioned is that sometimes the church doesn't do a good job of making space for brokenness, for people's brokenness. And so what would you tell the people who are on the receiving end of hearing somebody's brokenness, right? You mentioned like don't flinch, right? But what else would you share with us apart from that? Or maybe even along with that, in terms of how we can love people well through that dark season?
I think really, I like definitely be praying for them.
Sure, absolutely.
Definitely be praying for them. I don't know if there was any answers anybody could give me. Like I needed to see God's hand.
So you didn't want to like have a theological debate like Job's friends in the scripture?
I couldn't. I had no stomach for it because I think. And I don't think this is always the case, right? But I know where I was, theology was a cover-up for everything else I was trying to heal from. Right? So it actually was drawing me into what I was probably trying to get away from, which was I'm trying to get into intimacy and away from like the theological conversations about. I can name some, but I'm not gonna get into it. That would have been fun. You would have had a problem. But
Please don't give me any problem.
yeah, no, you good. But yeah, so I think really to sit with them, and to I don't know if you can actually bear the burden with them, but to be with them. Right? Because they're going to be in it. Like, not to rush past it. Because I think I ran into a lot of that, too. It's like I would tell people, and they would try to give me a Bible verse or, like some theological concept.
Something that tomorrow you be
and it's like, all right, cool. Like, all right, I'm going to holler at you. And it's like, nah, like, I'm actually in this one. I'm stuck. You know, I'm really stuck. And so it's like, I'm going to be here.
And I'm glad you said it, because obviously I talked about Job in this sermon, because how can you not in this type of conversation? But Job's friends, for 7 days, they were great friends. Like they came up on the scene, and it says that they saw how intense his suffering was, and they just sat with him. Like Job didn't say a word, they didn't say a word, they just sat with Job. And for 7 days, they were great friends. And then Job opened his mouth, and the first thing Job wanted to say is, "Curse today that I lived." And whoever told my mama that it was a great day, and curse him too. Like, he was at the bottom of the pit. You know what I'm saying? And then like his friends automatically went into, all right, now Job, since you want to talk, well, let's talk about it. And then they just go off to the wrong way, blah blah blah. But to your point, you're saying like, if there's nothing you can do, what you can do is sit with them, be present. And maybe being present looks like bearing the burden with them. Because like, again, to your point, it looks different per season. You know, like some of the things that you deal with, the disappointment that has happened in your life, that you have a struggle bringing to the Lord, you got to walk with for the rest of your life. And you may not find that complete, I'll say, you won't find that complete deliverance until we get to heaven, right? Which is the reality of all of our lives on this side of heaven. But I think it's important that we hear from you about that in terms of how we should respond.
Yeah.
Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. You mentioned like you're a seminary student, and also kudos to you, right? But
moving on,
but also like what I wanted to ask really was that like seminary, all these classes, people giving you, or even the books that you read, people giving you verses, that's all head knowledge. But like, how did you transfer that knowledge in your head to like something you really started to believe about God? So like you said that, and maybe you're still here, and if that's true, that's fine, but or we want to help, we can sit. But like, if you know that like God says in his word he'll be with us, but you feel neglected, like how do you transfer this knowledge to a belief you have? And like what changes does it take to get there? And do you understand what I'm saying? Was that clear?
I think so.
Okay.
But cause I'm still kind of like,
sure.
You know, like, so it's not, I don't know how to like package it. I would say, with what I already knew. And I think, so let me say this too. A lot of the theology that I knew helped me. It just wasn't the main thing I needed, right? It's not a substitute. Theology is a terrible substitute for a relationship with God.
That's good.
Right? And so I think that's what it was for me, right? Like it helped me to like try to build this thing. And so what was helpful is like, it's still a lot of scriptures that were like super helpful, like the story of Hagar, right? The way she was misused and like is arguably
you got it.
But like,
arguably,
yeah, that one. And if like that was sexual assault or not,
yeah,
right? And so it's like, but like after she was mistreated by God's people and sent away, no, she ran away.
Yeah, right.
And so, but God met her there.
Yeah, the God
right?
who sees.
So I'm like, this is the God who sees.
Yeah.
Right? Or, yeah. So it's just, like those things were, it's like, okay, God has spoken to this specifically when everybody else is, even Christians, like Christians don't always talk about Hagar's story.
Yeah.
Right? And so, that was from a theology class. Right? And so I think those kind of things are like really, really, they're helpful.
Yeah.
And I think as you know it, you begin to like see that God has like acted on that for them, and like you're able to see God's hand move in real time, and like that's really what I was longing for. I was longing to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because again, like I told them on Sunday, like if you're struggling with the trust issues with the Lord, you need to live in the Psalms. Like that needs to be your refuge.
Second,
and just get lost in let the Psalms shape your prayer life. Let them teach you how to speak to the Lord and bring your frustration, your anger, your hurt, and your even your hope, right? Because one of the things about the psalmist, even in their darkest valley, when he's going through the dark night of the soul, if you will, like he's writing this because he's still sticking with the Lord, right? He hasn't, even though he felt like the Lord has abandoned him, he has not abandoned the Lord. And because he stuck with the Lord, he got to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, right? He grew in relationship with the Lord, right? Because he could no longer afford the cultural things of the faith. He got to the bare bones of what it means to be a follower of Jesus, even in the midst of suffering, even in the midst of trials. And so, like, my encouragement to the person listening to this is, man, as easy it may be to walk away from the Lord, and as hard as it may be to stay with Him, staying with Him is worth it, right? It's the most beneficial thing. And one of the things I've heard from other people is like, the only reason why I'm still here is because I know I have to be here. Like I know that there's nowhere else for me to go other than to be with the Lord, you know? And like, I'm mad, and like, the illustration that I gave on Sunday was that somebody gave to me who's struggling with a trust issue is, it's like walking into somebody's house and you only there because you know you got to be there. You don't want tea. You don't want to sit on the couch. You don't want to do nothing. You just want to be here. I'm only here because I got to be here. And what they've learned with sticking in the room with Jesus is that the longer you stay, the more you want to sit on the couch, the more you want to sip the tea, because the more you realize that even in my disappointment and even in my suffering, man, He is still good. Like, in some way, somehow, this affliction has taught me that He's good, right? I think the Psalms 119 speaks about that as well. He says, I'm glad that I was afflicted because I know you better, right? And when I read that, if I'm being honest, I read that, I was like, if I was struggling with a trust issue like you seem to be in this passage, that wouldn't be good enough for me to come on the other side and all I have is more knowledge about who you are. But I feel like the Holy Spirit corrected me in the sense that He reminded me that, like, no, the more you know me, the more you realize that I'm much better than you ever imagined. Like, I am. Like, knowing me is that good. Like, it is the better prize, present reward for pushing through and navigating through the valley seasons, if you will. And so shout out to you, because I've been knowing you and we've had conversations for months and things of that nature, and like, you probably the first person I probably been with that has lived out the Psalms in terms of going through the affliction and the hard stuff. And
did you want that title?
Lived out is crazy.
No, crazy. For my life, like, just for me, like people that I've interacted with, you know, like, and so I commend you on persevering and continuing to persevere, even, and just even being willing to be here, share your story, and help us navigate through some of the trust issues as well. So I appreciate that.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
I just want to.
We always give you the last word, so.
For real?
Yeah.
So to the person that's struggling, right? Like, if you've made it through this whole podcast, because it might have been triggering, we probably should have done a trigger warning for real.
Okay, I'll try to edit it in.
But
trigger warning.
If you like are struggling like with like your faith and stuff like that, I think the verse that like we hear so much about, like if you're like deconstruction, reconstruction, like that whole thing, the faith of a mustard seed, right? Mm-hmm. Don't just trash it, right? Even if it's very, very small. I think for the person who's deconstructed, I think that's probably you, right? Because you probably still have a little bit that you're holding on to, and like it seems like everybody, like nobody knows what to do with it when you say, hey, like I only have this little bit of faith, mm-hmm. because they're so used to like everybody kind of they Sunday's best, right? Yeah. But it's like I only have this little bit, and it doesn't look like yours, mm-hmm. right? And like will you care for it, right? Mm-hmm. So to the person who is deconstructing, who's got a little bit of faith left, like hold it. And to the people who run into people who are broken, who have that mustard seed of faith, like be praying and be caring for that small seed that they have, because they're probably wanting to throw it. They probably tried like me. I mean, I literally tried to throw mine, you know, and so thank God for like His grace and like something still here, you know. So yeah, much love to y'all, man.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Kennedy, what we have on Sunday?
Oh my gosh. Oh, Friend Sunday.
So make sure you invite a friend. We're going to continue the series. This upcoming sermon is going to be about navigating trust issues while you're waiting on the Lord, right? So trusting God in the wait. So I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be enriching, and we'll have more guests on the podcast next week to talk about as well. So that'll be fun. I don't know who yet, but we'll figure it out.
I was like, that's news.
Yep.
I knew about you, but.
And then on Saturday, if you're listening to this and you're a guy, you want to come hang out with some people, make some connections with maybe some people that you can open up to eventually. We're going to 504 Golf this Saturday at 10 a.m. And so you can look in our link tree and sign up and register.
Are they going to see D-Ray Woods?
D-Ray Woods. You know who D-Ray Woods is?
I gotta guess, but
Who D-Ray Woods? You see what I got this polo on, huh?
All right, I'm sorry I did that.
All right.
yeah, somebody gotta stop him. I don't know who it's gonna be, y'all. I thought Kennedy was, but she not. She not, for real.
All right, we love y'all. See y'all next week.